Hi, my name is Josh, and today I'm going to talk to you about how anxiety occurs. Okay, so this is how the process goes when it comes to anxiety. It is basically an experience between the body and the mind, and that is usually what we are most aware of in terms of how we feel anxiety. We usually feel something on the level of the body and the mind. I'll also be talking about the heart a little later. But our heart is usually neglected when anxiety kicks off. So I'm going to start out with a conversation about the body and about the mind. So let's go ahead and look at how this whole thing starts. Usually it starts with negative thoughts occurring in the mind. There may have been a negative experience, there may have been an event, absolutely. This can cause our mind to also think about all kinds of negative things and to become aware of a lot of things that it is afraid of. And the mind will begin problem solving. It'll begin future casting, thinking about what happened in the past and how that is likely to happen in the future and all of the different scenarios that our worst fears can play out. So really what the mind doing is problem solving in an effort to take care of us. It is coming up with all different kinds of versions of the same story, basically, where the story is that we are not safe and we need to come up with some sort of way to protect ourselves, but we haven't figured it out. The mind really usually cannot figure out how to take care of us in that sense, because so many of these scenarios are not true. So as the mind is having all of these thoughts, it begins to fill up. The mind gets more disturbed and anxious, and lots of thoughts running through the mind. And as the mind has these thoughts, those thoughts are felt in the body. And of course, the body begins to become more uncomfortable. It feels these thoughts as true, as if they were really happening. After all, we're giving these thoughts all of our attention. And so when that's the thing we are focused on, whatever we think of in the mind is something that the body is going to experience as true and as real. And when the body feels them, the body sends the signals back up to the mind, telling the mind, hey, this is happening for real. And the mind thinks, oh, it's just like I thought. My worst fear is really happening. So the mind gets all kinds of confirmation that these things are true. And so the mind increases its intensity and increases its sense of urgency around these thoughts and these stories that it has made up, and sends these thoughts back to the body sends them back to the mind, and the cycle begins to increase and pick up speed. Okay, so that's what's happening between the body and the mind getting more agitated and speeding up, and the body becoming more uncomfortable. And as the mind is filling up with all of these thoughts, what's interesting is that we are not paying any attention to our heart. And by our heart, I mean our emotional world. We're not paying attention to the fact that we have all kinds of emotional things that occur to us, all kinds of emotional responses as we go through our day. And the heart, as we ignore all of these emotions, we begin to feel the heart empty out. And we may not feel it on a conscious level, but the body and the mind know the heart has been left out of the equation. So the mind and the body are trying to solve a problem that they really can't on their own. So the key to come out of long term, to come out of anxiety and to cure anxiety, has to do with including the heart in this whole situation. So we will look at what it takes to fill up the heart, what it takes to engage the heart, what it takes to fill the heart up, but you probably intuitively already know the answer to this. What is it that the heart needs most? What is its greatest emotional need? That's right, it's love. The heart needs love. And we are rarely intentional. We rarely bring intention to our lives in terms of being in situations or around people that will allow us to fill up and feel full in terms of love. Just to be around people and situations that help us remember that we are loved, to help us feel loved. This gets us out of the mind. It gets us out of worrying about what's going on in the body. It gets us out of this cycle. It's the first and quickest way out, is to acknowledge what it is that's happening for us emotionally, and to be able to find and recognize love for ourselves. So it's important to make this a priority. Where are your resources for love? Where is it in your life that you feel loved? Because this is a very important first step to curing this experience that feels so uncontrollable. So we're going to allow our heart to feel loved, and there are all kinds of different things that we can do around that to ensure that we keep our hearts full of love. When we do, our mind will begin to settle and rest, and we will begin to feel what the mind needs most, which is a sense of peace. The mind needs peace. So when we feel loved in our heart, we feel peace in our mind, then we can begin to feel something different in our body, rather than aches and pains and panic and constriction and defensiveness and guardedness. We can begin to feel the reward or the results of a heart full of love and a mind at peace. We can begin to feel joy in the body. The body needs to be able to feel joy. And just a word about what this means to experience joy in the body. It doesn't necessarily mean that you have to be jumping up and down and losing control of yourself because you're so happy. There's nothing wrong with that necessarily. And compared to where you are right now, that probably sounds great. But joy, as I would define it for you, has to do with the body being able to express or say what it is that's really going on. It means that the mind and the heart are connected, they're coherent, and they are on the same page. And then the body can also be on the same page. And that, for the body, brings a sense of joy, relief, safety, and connection. And this is what all three levels of experience require. This is what we need. This is what we need to be happy. So we will look at how to do this and how this works, but I wanted you to understand a little bit more about the process of anxiety and how to reframe it and think about it in terms of how to cure it and really find relief.